1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters don't move. Whatever click you choose, you better.
So let's hop into today's video, man. And damn, it's crazy, man. What a difference a week or two makes, man. Yeah, it seemed like Wes Watson and threw it all away, man. Wes Watson was out there in Florida living good, riding around in expensive foreign cars. One bad decision, man, and now, he's sitting up, locked in jail, and looking to be facing a lot of time, according to the opinion of this Florida lawyer. So I'm going to listen to this dude. We're going to break down what he's saying a little bit, and let's get into it, man.
Wes Watson has been arrested in Broward County, charged with 5 felonies, and now, based on his prior arrest, is facing having his bond revoked and sitting in jail pending his trials. We're going to get into that today on The Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire, Florida attorney, and we're going to be getting this today on a Fast Facts video, the quick and dirty version of the latest in legal news. So in case you don't know who Wes Watson is over here, he is, well, an interesting influencer. Maybe you could call him a locale at this point, but he has now been arrested in Broward County for 5 felony offenses. And indeed, this is his mugshot right here, looking pretty, sitting there in.
Now, man, I don't know about y'all, man, but this lawyer seems pretty happy to be breaking all this stuff down. And I don't know if the man is on a few energy drinks, a couple of Starbucks drinks or whatever, but he definitely seemed to be pretty excited.
Broward County Jail. Now, what happened was Wes Watson was involved in a domestic altercation with his fiance, and we're going to be going through all the details of that on the actual police documents today. But he was already out on pre-trial release pending a trial for his 4-on-1 fight at the gym in Miami, where he challenged someone to come out and fight him and then ended up in a very cowardly way ganging up on the guy with his buddies, beating up on him.
Fucking with me, I'll fucking kill you.
That was happening in Miami at Elevation Fitness in Miami. So they were facing that, and he was out on pre-trial release. But just now, we had Miami prosecutors filing documents to terminate that pre-trial release. We're also going to go through that today. What is he facing? Well, right now, the charges are serious. We're looking at robbery, that's up to 15 years, felony battery, 5 years, aggravated assault, that's another 5, tampering with essentially communicating with law enforcement, tampering with that witness, up to 15 years, then false imprisonment, tack on another 5. The other thing is, because he is a repeat offender, or what's called in Florida a habitual felony offender, HFO, or habitual violent felony offender, HVFO, that can tack on additional time and potentially double his sentence. So we're looking at very, very serious crimes. So let's look at the actual documents for what happened. Okay, so here we have the actual Broward County complaint affidavit that was filed against Wes Watson here. And what we have is we have this looking at robbery by sudden snatching, battery, aggravated assault, obstructing justice, false kidnapping, all this good stuff here.
And I'm pretty sure, man, Wes is sitting up in that county jail just going through it. I think the first when you get locked up, right, a lot of times, man, most people will just go to sleep. It just seems like it's a whole lot, right? And then when you wake up, from that very first sleep, and the realization hits you like, damn, man, I'm in jail, and we're going to keep it real, man. Wes appeared to be living a pretty good life, man, as I, talked about earlier. So now you're looking around, you seeing people eat this, pretty much what's slop, it's the first couple of days are the hardest adjustments to make, man, because it's just like damn, I'm back in jail. And like I said, man, just going from the luxury life that he was leading to be locked up with with these people who, let's keep it 100, man. Wes is kind of arrogant. He probably considers those people beneath him. Even if he's in general population, he might be an old PC. But yeah, I know it's a cold situation for Wes.
We have a statement from the victim being his fiance, saying that the victim and Wes Watson, have been a romantic relationship since January 2026. After 2 months of their relationship, the defendant proposed to the victim and asked her to move in, for which she resided on and off at his residence in Hollandale Beach. That's in Broward County. So let's get into the incident, which happened on March 15th. On Saturday, March 14th, the victim went to a Miami Heat basketball game with her female friend. After the game, Watson picked her up from her friend's house and they went to his residence. At this point, it was approximately 6 a.m. in the morning on Sunday the 15th. While they were at his residence, the victim stated that the defendant received a text message of a screenshot of her and her friend while at the Heat game. Wes Watson confronted her about her whereabouts, as she had not disclosed them, and she had gone to the game with a friend. The defendant began yelling at the victim, explaining he paid for her boob job and that she was disrespectful for having her boobs out, and that those are my boobs.
So it definitely seems like old Wes is a tender dick, man. You've been knowing the female 2 months, man, and so you already proposed to her. Okay, sometimes people fall in love quick, but that's extremely quick. Then on top of that, man, you have already went out and purchased this woman some fake boobs, man. I know it's a lot of beautiful and bad women out there, man, but I'm gonna have to be with a female much longer than 2 months before I come to decide that she's worthy of me spending all that money. Because of course, in a relationship, everybody puts their best foot forward first, but it's going to take a while and stuff before you really see who a person really is. But anyway, in my opinion, man, Wes is definitely a tender dick, man.
Also accusing her of cheating on him. The victim further elaborated this was when Wes Watson freaked out against her will, forcibly grabbed her by the neck and told her, "You stupid little B, that's where you were." The victim could not remember if the defendant held her with one hand or two hands, but caused bruising to her neck area. So there, guys, you already have the battery, the aggravated assault. You see these charges building up already. Defendant began to rattle and shake her by grabbing both of her arms forcefully. He continued to push and grab her by her hair and slam her on the floor. Wow. Then Watson dragged the victim by her hair on the floor and pinned her against the kitchen table. He pushed and grabbed, manhandling the victim's face, causing a scratch to the victim's right cheek. The victim stated the defendant forcefully pinned her back against the table, causing her back to bend and hurt. The defendant began yelling at the victim, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your whole family."
Yeah, Wes is man going through some psychotic rage, man. And I know the last time I did a story on this a few days ago, somebody said something to the effect of, what if she drops the charges? I don't necessarily know how it works in Florida, but I know in California, the state will pick up a charge like this, right? So even if the female says, "I no longer want to press charges," or even if she never presses charges from the gate and doesn't want to cooperate, the state can pick up charges based on the evidence that they see. So, Wes may not be wiggling out of this one.
He continued to push the victim down on the floor with force and picked her back up, and forcefully, against her will, sat the victim down in a chair. Then said, during the defendant's physical abuse towards the victim, she yelled, "Help me, get him off of me," to 3 other witnesses who were present inside the residence. The victim elaborated that nobody did anything to help her or get the defendant, Wes Watson, to stop. It should be noted the victim is 5'1" and approximately 125 pounds, while Watson is 6'1" and 245. It was at this point the victim elaborated the defendant then grabbed her with his right hand by her hair and then slammed her head down into the kitchen table. This caused the victim to sustain a cut to her forehead, which began bleeding profusely. The victim advised she was in a state of shock, which she believed she had momentarily blacked out and lost consciousness. The victim explained her memory was fuzzy afterwards. The victim advised it was then that Wes Watson stopped beating on her and snatched her cell phone out of her hand. So that's where you might get the robbery charge popping in there. While holding a plate, the defendant threatened to break the plate on top of her head and told her he would grab a bottle and slash it across her face and break it on her head, and told her he would kick her face in.
Yeah, man. This right here is wild, man. Wes, claims he was on the 4 yard and he done all this time, man. Wes could have definitely benefited from some of those anger management classes that I had to take. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because Wes, you got some control issues, man. They say the woman is 5'1", 115, 120 pounds, somewhere around there. Wes claims to be 6'1", 245, though a lot of people say he's not that tall. But anyway, even if he is 5'8", 200 pounds, man, just the way this report is talking about, he has went about, treating that female, assaulting her and dogging her and slamming her, grabbing her by the hair. Man, it's crazy.
Wes Watson then told the victim to drink while forcibly pouring alcohol down her throat. It was at this point the defendant told his live-in assistant, the witness, to clean her up so she doesn't stop bleeding. For which the witness cleaned her cut and glued her forehead injury. It was also at this point the defendant gave his friend, who was another witness to the incident, the victim's cell phone. The defendant had his friend look through her text messages, photos, and social media to make sure she's not cheating. The unidentified friend began instigating the defendant and his physical actions towards the victim. The third witness was the defendant's security guard, identified as a certain person, who told the victim to take accountability for her actions of wearing a shirt which exposed her breasts. So all of them were kind of in on this. The defendant did not allow the victim to utilize her cell phone or call anyone. So now we're getting in towards false imprisonment. The victim was forced by the defendant to tell her cousin she got the scratch on her cheek from derma peeling. Further, the defendant told her if the police were to have arrived at the residence, she would need to tell police she slipped on a rug at the residence. Throughout the altercation, the victim stated the defendant held her hostage, once again, false imprisonment, and would not let her leave. The victim tried to leave the residence, but the defendant feared she would contact police, and due to being on parole, once again, pretrial release for that fight in Miami, he could not allow it. The defendant continued to verbally abuse and yell at her. The victim eventually fell asleep, and upon awaking, she wanted to leave Wes Watson's residence, but he would not allow her to leave. Continued proof of false imprisonment. The Wes Watson continued to tell the victim she cannot leave because her face was messed up, and you have to stay here for more days until your face heals up. The defendant told her if she went home, her parents would call the police on him, and I cannot go to jail. Well, buddy, you're going to jail now.
Yeah, so definitely, Wes, being a former convict, doing time in California, he knew he had messed up. He knew he went overboard, and he definitely was trying to take some preventative measures to stop this thing from snowballing into an even bigger situation, So basically, that's the reason that he's trying to forcibly make the lady, the fiance of his, stay there, because he knows that if she goes home, more than likely her family is going to influence her to call the police. So Wes definitely knew, he had tripped out. I wonder what he's thinking right now. I honestly, I know he's just sitting back, really just hating life, man, kicking himself in the ass because, he knows it's only going to get uglier from this point forward.
Wes Watson further stated, if I go to jail, something bad is going to happen to you, all of your victims, all of your friends and family. So this goes towards tampering with communication, preventing communication with law enforcement, making threats. That's a charge on there. The Wes Watson further implied he would have girls jump the victim in order to ruin her reputation. Wes Watson further told a security guard to make sure she doesn't run and have him stand by the door in an effort to keep the victim from leaving the residence. Victim stated she did not have her cell phone during the date of the incident and most of the following day. She elaborated that Wes Watson had monitored her incoming text messages, and one of the witnesses would give her the phone briefly and told her she needed to tell people she was okay and text them back. Other times, Wes Watson would act as if he was her and send text messages on her behalf, pretending to be her, saying, I'm okay, I'm going to sleep. She advised she stealthily took possession of her cell phone. It was on the table while Wes Watson was getting dressed. Wes Watson threatened her by telling her, if you want to keep your family safe, don't call the police. While the victim was seated in a chair, he lifted the chair with such force he dropped the victim on the floor. The incident, physical abuse, lasted approximately 40 minutes, but led into the following day. During this time, the victim was scared and afraid of the defendant. She believed he was capable of killing her and then himself, as he said such to her. The victim stated that Wes Watson does have firearms at the residence, but unsure how many. So this details all the injuries: cut on the forehead, scratches, bruises all over on the knees, on the calves. on her neck, on her head, on her shoulders, on her breast. So all of this stuff together was put together by police. So we have a very comprehensive record here, but that's not where it stops.
Now, let me just give you my quick opinion on this, right? According to all the information that they have, there's no way in hell Wes Watson is going to try to take this to trial, you know. So at this point, in my opinion, he's pretty much at the mercy of the court, you know. He takes this to trial, the jury, especially, it's going to have women on there, but even men, they're definitely going to be horrified at the sight of these pictures if they happen to go to trial and they show them, you know, pictures of this woman, small, frail woman, bruises and, you know, marks on her and stuff at the hands of this weightlifting, you know, steroid freak, man. So Wes Watson he has no choice, man. He has to take the best deal he can get, and he's headed to prison.
So here we have a filing just now. This was filed recently by the Miami-Dade court. So remember, this case we just heard, all those facts are from Broward. Now we have Miami stepping in and saying enough is enough. So what we have here with Miami is Miami filing as the state attorney based on his charges in Miami for aggravated battery and felony battery, saying he was out on bond and was on pretrial release. Because of the arrest and because he was arrested on multiple felony counts, robbery, battery, aggravated assault, tampering with a witness, false imprisonment, this is in violation of the terms of his pretrial release and for a new law violation. And his bond should be revoked for violation of his release conditions. Wes Watson is a threat to the community and should be held without bond while his trial is pending. And mind you, these trials can take a very, very, very long time. So here's my judgment. In my judgment, this pretrial release is highly likely to be revoked. They are probably going to grant these things when they're filed. Typically, if they're filed, they're granted. There's more than enough reason to lock this guy up. So Watson is going to stay in jail pending this trial in Miami, and likely pending the trials even afterwards, depending on how the Miami case comes out, pending that with Broward County. So he's going to jail now. That's happening. Factual. All this he didn't want to happen is indeed happening, and he's going to get harder sentencing based on his prior. So he is a habitually violent felony offender, HVFO, sometimes also HFO. That means he can get doubled. So all of that time in there, which adds up to decades, can get doubled. So I think even conservatively, even if he takes a plea deal, even if he gets the lowest possible amount, I'm thinking a multiple year prison sentence, we're talking 10 to 15 years, is highly realistic given the facts and given Wes Watson's history. So I want to know what you guys think about this case and Wes Watson. Let me know in the comments below.
Well, that's about it, man. So yeah, Wes, you've created one hell of a mess. I don't think you're going to have anybody out there have any sympathy for Wes for a lot of reasons. You know, one, because he was arrogant. You know, a lot of people just didn't really like his attitude and the way he came off. Then on top of that, you know, you're a woman beater. And so, that's not going to sit well with anybody, man. You know, here you got this dude who proclaims how tough he is. He's big, he's bad, you know, and then to beat on a small, petite woman like this, grabbing her by the hair and all this other type of stuff that he's being accused of, is not going to sit well in the eyes of the public. And so I don't think there's anybody out there that has sympathy for Wes Watson, man. Anyway, though, you already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.